So join me, Marie Chrysostomo, as we learn how to choose different words and how to say them to initiate change. Welcome to the second episode of the Weight of the Words We Carry series. In the Philippines, we grew up in a culture that values strength in staying quiet. And we're taught early how to endure. Tiis lang, kaya mo yan. Or lilipas din yan, as they say. And there's something admirable about that resilience, but sometimes it comes with a cost. Speaking honestly about pain might come with rejection we are afraid to face. And who wants to be rejected? So today I share bits and pieces of how we can safely admit our discomfort without getting into the danger of losing ourselves. When speaking about discomfort, first know that not all discomfort is bad, and not all discomfort is something that you should push through with. One of the most important skills we can learn, especially as adults, is telling the difference between discomfort that helps us grow and discomfort that signals danger. Growth can make you feel uncomfortable, like when you're starting something new, or setting a boundary, or when you're about to have a heart to heart and honest conversation. These things take their toll on our minds and our hearts. They can feel awkward, scary, even painful at first, but underneath that discomfort, there's still a sense of alignment. You may be nervous, but you don't really feel like you're totally losing it. And that's growth discomfort. It challenges you, but it doesn't make you feel like you're in the danger zone. Danger discomfort feels different. It's the kind that comes with fear, with shrinking, with self abandoning, and with forcing yourself to stay quiet, stay small, or stay in situations that drain your spirit. It's when your body feels tense, your chest feels tight, or your intuition keeps whispering something is wrong. But growth asks you to expand, danger asks you to disappear, stay quiet, stay small. Probably one question to ask is, does this discomfort lead me towards more truth or more fear? Growth discomfort often comes with clarity afterwards. Even if it's hard, you feel proud when you achieve something, no matter how negligible it may seem to others. You feel more honest, more rooted. Danger discomfort leaves you feeling depleted, confused, unsafe, like you had to deprive your needs just to get through, a certain situation. So, know the difference between staying through the discomfort of growth and leaving because you're in danger. Your well being shouldn't be compromised. You are allowed to grow, but you are also allowed to protect yourself. So, knowing the difference isn't a weakness, it's wisdom. And once we begin to understand the difference between discomfort that helps us grow and discomfort that harms us, the next question becomes, why does growth still feel so unsettling? And because sometimes even the right kind of discomfort can feel like losing at first. So, our second step is to understand why we feel like losing more than we're winning as we start our journey of self growth. When you start building new habits, setting boundaries, or stepping into a new version of yourself, it rarely feels empowering in the beginning. It feels messy, awkward, like you're doing something wrong. You might stop people pleasing and suddenly feel guilty. Oh no, what are other people going to say about me? Or you might rest more and feel really unproductive when you tell yourself, like, I think I need to feel busy. And you might be learning how to say no for, you know, in the beginning and feel like you're disappointing a few people because you've been in the habit of always accommodating, everyone's needs for so many years and for so long. So you might choose yourself and wonder if you're becoming selfish. And one thing I can say is that the strange thing about change, even healthy change, can feel like failure at first, lots of times. Like, for real. Because growth is unfamiliar, and our brain often interprets unfamiliar things as unsafe. Not because it's actually wrong, but because it's new. And our nervous system is used to what we've always done, like if we've been over functioning, staying quiet, pushing through, saying yes. So even if those patterns hurt us, they at least they were predictable. So when you try something different, it can feel like you're losing your footing. But unfamiliar doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong. It just means you're no longer living on autopilot. Boundaries can feel harsh when you're used to overgiving. Rest can feel lazy when you're praised for being so accommodating to the point of exhaustion, and because you never dared show it to anyone. Peace? It can feel boring when chaos was normal because there were people always needing your help. So, see now why growth can feel disorienting? You're not failing, you're adjusting. So, progress doesn't always look like confidence. Sometimes it looks like discomfort with a new choice. Sometimes it looks like grieving an old version of you. Sometimes it looks like doing the right thing while you're feeling unsure. So, if growth feels like losing right now, let me tell you that that's how it starts. Growth isn't about staying the same, nor is it about overnight success. It's not, it really isn't. But remember this, you're simply leaving what was familiar, and that's often the first sign that something is finally changing. And if growth feels disorienting, it's not just because you're doing something new. It's because you're also letting something old go. And this is what we always forget. Change doesn't just ask for new habits, it asks for the release of old practices. And this is the third step in understanding what is happening to you and why you're reacting the way you do, because it's going to feel like you're on detox. I'm imagining how it feels based on stories from people who've been addicted to games, to soda, to smoking, to drinking, or to drugs. And they stay away from it for a while and it makes them feel like going crazy. Why so? When you stop old patterns, your mind often protests. Not because the old ways were healthy, but because they were familiar. They probably made you feel good. And the habits you're trying to outgrow may have once helped you survive, cope, or feel accepted. So, for example, if you're used to overworking, slowing down can make you anxious. And if you're used to people pleasing, setting boundaries can feel unbearable. If you're used to chaos, peace can feel strangely empty. So, your brain starts asking, what are you doing? Go back to the way you were. At least we knew how to function back then. You see, and that's a detox. Your mind is recalibrating. Because even painful patterns can feel safe when they're predictable, and breaking them can trigger guilt, doubt, restlessness, and even grief. So you're not just changing behavior, you're grieving an identity. That version of you that was always available, always strong, always trying. So this is why growth can feel awkward before you feel its positive effects. You may feel worse before you feel better, not because you made the wrong choice, but because you're doing things that are different. So detox is uncomfortable, but it's not punishment. It's evidence that something is leaving your system, something that wasn't really good for you. So, if you're in that stage where change feels raw, where your mind is resisting, where everything feels unfamiliar, pause and remind yourself not everything that feels difficult is wrong. Sometimes it's just because you're becoming someone new. For there is what I like to call an in between space that change creates. It's a place where the old version of you no longer fits, but the new version, is still in progress. You've outgrown certain habits, certain roles, certain ways of surviving, but you're still building the new foundation, and that space can feel deeply uncomfortable. It's like standing on a bridge. You can't go back, but you also can't see what lies far ahead. And that's life. It's going to feel uncertain at times. Your confidence wavers not because you're failing, but because you're in transition. So, a good reminder to ourselves is to use the phrase, I'm learning, I'm transitioning, rather than I'm failing. I, Believe me, it's difficult, but it helps a lot. As I feel that this is where a lot of people panic. It's, the in between feels like emptiness. It feels like we're lost. So, the question becomes, how do you stay grounded when you're at this stage? First, stop treating uncertainty at this stage as an emergency. Not knowing what you're doing at the moment is not a sign you're off track. I believe it's a sign you're evolving. Second, anchor yourself in small, steady things like, you know, a simple routine like a walk in the park, taking a few minutes of fresh air, or even honest rest. Take one small step instead of trying to get 10 future steps or future answers. Grounding doesn't come from certainty, it comes from being present at the moment. And third, remind yourself that discomfort is not your enemy in this process. The in-between space or stage is supposed to feel awkward. Growth is rarely a clean transformation. So if you're here right now, between who you were and who you're becoming, don't lose hope. You are changing. And that's enough for now. Fifth step in the growth process is realizing that gentle growth is real growth. We often confuse resilience with numbness. We think being strong means being unaffected, but emotional numbness isn't strength, it's survival. And we don't need that because we're not in a fight for our lives. True resilience is flexible. It's the ability to bend without breaking, to face discomfort without abandoning yourself, and to keep growing without eradicating your empathy. So, you don't have to become cold to become strong. You don't have to lose tenderness to gain courage. You can grow gently by listening, by healing, by learning, and continuing to progress towards growth that doesn't come at the cost of your sanity. So, today's episode was about redefining discomfort, not as something to fear, but as something to understand. We've explored why growth can feel like losing at first, and how reframing our minds to realize that growth means learning to rest, set boundaries, and becoming stronger without losing our empathy is key. So, if this episode resonated with you, take a moment today to ask yourself, what am I still trying to prove? And what would it look like if I welcome this discomfort so that I can look forward to the new me? So, if you found this helpful, share this episode with someone who needs the reminder. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so you can keep growing gently, a step at a time. So, until then, take care and stay safe.